13 legendary faces from Hollywood's golden era lit up the silver screen. But behind the glamour, they carried a deadly secret in their lungs. Cigarettes once sold as elegance became the silent weapon that stole their voices forever. Tonight, we uncover 13 icons who died of lung cancer, names so beloved, stories so haunting, you will not believe who is on this list. Stay with us, because one revelation will leave you gasping. Number 1. Vincent Price. In October of 1993, the world awoke to the news that the master of horror himself had taken his final bow. Lung cancer had claimed him at the age of 82, ending a career that spanned half a century and defined what it meant to be deliciously sinister on screen. His death was quiet, but it cast a long shadow across generations of movie lovers who grew up both terrified and enchanted by his voice and presence. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1911, a young man of refinement who first pursued art history before the stage beckoned. By the 1940s, Vincent Price was already recognized as a skilled character actor, often stealing scenes with a raised eyebrow or a sly grin. Yet it was in the world of gothic horror that he found immortality. From House of Wax to The Fly, from The Pit and The Pendulum to Theater of Blood, his face became synonymous with dread and delight. The camera adored his elegance, and audiences adored the way he danced between menace and charm. Behind that theatrical exterior, Vincent Price lived a surprisingly cultured and generous life. He was an avid art collector, a passionate supporter of education, and a man who never confined himself to one role. He voiced the Invisible Man in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. He lent his distinctive tones to Michael Jackson's Thriller, and he appeared on countless television shows, always reminding audiences that he was more than just a villain. His career became a mosaic of high art, camp horror, and timeless popular culture. As the years passed, the toll of smoking caught up with him. His once commanding voice grew raspy, his performances fewer, but the aura of Vincent Price never dimmed. When the end came in Los Angeles, tributes poured in from colleagues and fans alike. They remembered not only the master of the macabre, but also a man of warmth, intelligence, and humor. His death from lung cancer was a cruel irony, for his very image had been framed in curls of cigarette smoke across so many film posters. Yet even in death, his legend endures, and his shadow still flickers on late-night screens where he continues to frighten, charm, and captivate. Number 2. Jason Robards. In December of the year 2000, news spread that one of America's most commanding stage and screen actors had lost his battle with lung cancer. He was 78 years old, a titan of Broadway and Hollywood whose gravelly voice and towering presence had shaped modern drama. His death marked the end of an era. For Jason Robards had become a symbol of uncompromising artistry and deep emotional truth. He was born in Chicago in 1922 and grew up in a household marked by both theater and turbulence. His father, a silent film star, struggled after the transition to sound, leaving young Jason with a cautionary tale about the fragility of fame. After serving with distinction in the United States Navy during the Second World War, he turned to acting, carrying with him both discipline and scars from combat. The stage quickly revealed his brilliance. His name became inseparable from the works of Eugene O'Neill, especially his tour de force performances in The Iceman Cometh and Long Day's Journey into Night. Critics praised the raw honesty he brought to roles that demanded both vulnerability and strength. Hollywood soon followed. By the 1970s, Jason Robards had become an Academy Award darling, winning consecutive Oscars for All the President's Men and Julia. He brought gravitas to every frame, often embodying men wrestling with conscience, authority, and personal demons. His weathered features and resonant delivery gave weight to stories that might otherwise have felt too polished. Whether as Ben Bradley in the Watergate drama or as compassionate father figures in quieter films, he carried an aura of integrity that audiences trusted. Yet his personal life was not without struggle. A battle with alcoholism nearly derailed his career in the 60s, but he overcame it, emerging stronger and more committed to his craft. Friends and colleagues remembered him as fiercely loyal, generous in spirit, and endlessly curious about the human condition. In later years, he returned to television and stage, never tiring of the challenge to reveal new depths in every role. When lung cancer finally silenced him in Connecticut, the theater world dimmed its lights in mourning. Actors and directors spoke of him as a mentor, a standard-bearer of serious performance, and a reminder that art could change the way audiences understood themselves. His passing was a loss not only to American theater and film, but to the very soul of storytelling, where Jason Robards had carved his name with unforgettable power. Number 3. Roddy McDowall. In October of 1998, the beloved actor known for his distinctive grace and versatility succumbed to lung cancer at the age of 70. The news saddened generations who had watched him grow from a precocious child star into one of Hollywood's most respected character actors. His passing closed the book on a career that had stretched across film, television, and theater for more than 6 decades. He was born in London in 1928 and began acting while still a boy. By the age of 12, he had already captured hearts in the poignant drama How Green Was My Valley. His family moved to the United States during the Second World War, and Hollywood quickly embraced him. Unlike many child actors who faded with age, Roddy McDowall reinvented himself, transitioning into adult roles with remarkable ease. His features matured, his voice deepened, and his skill expanded, making him a fixture on screen long after the innocence of youth had passed. Audiences of the 1960s remember him most vividly in the Planet of the Apes series. Hidden under elaborate prosthetics, he infused the chimpanzee Cornelius and later Caesar with intelligence, warmth, and moral clarity. He gave dignity to a franchise that could have felt campy, elevating it to allegory and social commentary. His ability to humanize even a creature of fiction became a testament to his craft. He was equally at home in thrillers, period dramas, and comedies, proving that no genre could contain him. Beyond acting, Roddy McDowall cultivated a reputation as a cultural ambassador. He was an accomplished photographer, capturing intimate portraits of friends and colleagues that revealed the hidden sides of Hollywood's elite. His home became a gathering place for artists, writers, and thinkers, reflecting his wide curiosity and deep friendships. Those who knew him best spoke of his kindness, his wit, and his loyalty, qualities that endeared him as much as his artistry. When illness finally claimed him in his Los Angeles home, tributes poured in from across the entertainment world. Co-stars, directors, and fans alike described a man who had given his entire life to storytelling. His death from lung cancer felt like a cruel betrayal of such vitality. Do you remember the first time you saw Roddy McDowall on screen? Share your memory in the comments, because those recollections keep his light flickering in the dark. Number 4. Robert Ryan. In July of 1973, one of Hollywood's most commanding screen presences died in New York from lung cancer at the age of 63. His passing came just after he had completed his final role in The Iceman Cometh, a performance that critics would later describe as hauntingly prophetic, as if he were already aware that his time was running out. The news shocked colleagues and audiences alike, for Robert Ryan had seemed indestructible, the very image of rugged masculinity. He was born in Chicago in 1910, the son of a building contractor, and grew up with both discipline and a natural athleticism that would serve him well. After graduating from Dartmouth College, he turned briefly to boxing, becoming a successful amateur heavyweight. That background gave him the physicality that later defined his on-screen persona. When he transitioned into acting, he carried the toughness of the ring with him, bringing a raw authenticity to his performances that audiences immediately recognized. By the late 1940s, Robert Ryan had established himself as a specialist in complex characters. He often portrayed villains, racists, or conflicted men, roles that demanded both intensity and nuance. In Crossfire, he played a brutal anti-Semite, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. His ability to embody darkness made him one of the most compelling actors of his generation. Though in real life he was known for his progressive political views and strong sense of justice. Through the 1950s and 60s, he appeared in a string of acclaimed films, including The Naked Spur, Bad Day at Black Rock, and The Professionals. His work alongside stars like James Stewart, Spencer Tracy, and Burt Lancaster proved his standing as one of Hollywood's most reliable leading men. He thrived in westerns, war pictures, and dramas, his lean frame and piercing eyes carving an unforgettable figure on the screen. Off-screen, he lived a quieter life, raising 3 children with his wife Jessica and devoting himself to causes like civil rights and nuclear disarmament. When lung cancer overtook him, Robert Ryan faced it with the same stoic dignity that had defined his characters. He continued to work almost until the very end, refusing to let illness overshadow his commitment to the craft. His death marked the loss of an actor who embodied both strength and sensitivity, leaving behind a legacy of performances that continue to resonate with honesty and power. Number 5. Franchot Tone. In September of 1968, Hollywood mourned the loss of a refined leading man whose career had spanned both stage and screen. Lung cancer ended his life at the age of 63, drawing a close to decades of artistry that had carried him from Broadway to the golden sound stages of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. His death was a quiet exit compared to the glamorous roles he once embodied, but it carried the weight of a vanished era. He was born in Niagara Falls, New York in 1905 into a wealthy and influential family. Educated at Cornell University, he first pursued acting through the Cornell Mask Theater Group before moving to New York City. There, he joined the legendary Group Theater, an incubator for some of the most important actors and directors of the 20th century. His stage training gave him a classical bearing that distinguished him when he made the leap to Hollywood in the early 1930s. At Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Franchot Tone became known for his smooth elegance and intellectual air. He co-starred with Joan Crawford, whom he later married, in several pictures that showcased his sophistication. In Mutiny on the Bounty, he delivered one of his finest performances opposite Clark Gable and Charles Laughton, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. His roles often leaned toward gentlemen of charm and refinement, but he also proved himself capable of intensity when the script demanded. The 1940s and 50s brought a shift to character roles in television work, yet Franchot Tone never lost the poise that had defined him. Off-screen, his personal life drew headlines, from his high-profile marriage to Crawford to subsequent relationships that kept him in the gossip pages. Still, those who worked with him spoke of his intelligence, wit, and professionalism. He embraced theater throughout his life, returning to the stage whenever possible and demonstrating that his first love had never faded. By the late 1960s, illness had weakened him, but he continued to act, appearing in television dramas and smaller films with the same dedication he had shown from the start. His death from lung cancer silenced a voice that had once commanded Broadway and captivated Hollywood. Today, his name may not be as widely recognized as some of his contemporaries, but his legacy endures through performances that captured the elegance and complexity of the golden era. Number 6. Barbara Bel Geddes. In August of 2005, audiences who had adored her for decades were struck by the news of her death from lung cancer at the age of 82. She passed away in Maine, far from the bustling lights of Hollywood, but her legacy remained etched in both theater history and the golden glow of television screens. Her career had stretched across more than half a century, making her a familiar presence to several generations. She was born in New York City in 1922, the daughter of Norman Bel Geddes, a prominent stage and industrial designer. From an early age, she was surrounded by creativity, and her natural inclination toward acting found fertile ground. Broadway welcomed her in the 1940s, where her striking presence and subtle emotional range set her apart. She earned a Tony Award nomination for her role in the play Deeper the Roots and quickly established herself as one of the most promising actresses of her generation. Hollywood soon recognized her talent. Alfred Hitchcock cast her in Vertigo, where she played Midge, the warm and sensible friend to James Stewart's troubled detective. The performance demonstrated her ability to ground psychological drama with empathy and intelligence. She worked steadily in film, though her greatest fame came later, when she embraced the role of Miss Ellie Ewing in the long-running television saga Dallas. As the matriarch of the Ewing family, she became a symbol of strength, compassion, and grace, anchoring the show through its most turbulent storylines. Her portrayal earned her Emmy Awards and the admiration of millions who tuned in weekly. Off-screen, Barbara Bel Geddes endured personal hardships, including the loss of her husband and battles with health issues, but she continued to embody resilience. She carried herself with quiet dignity, avoiding the excesses of Hollywood while focusing on her craft and her family. When lung cancer overtook her, the tributes reflected not only the loss of a celebrated performer, but also of a woman remembered for her kindness and professionalism. Colleagues described her as generous, grounded, and deeply devoted to her art. Her death marked the end of a career that bridged classic cinema and modern television, a career that allowed her to leave behind characters who still resonate with warmth and humanity. Number 7. Bruce Cabot. In May of 1972, the rugged actor who had once stood toe-to-toe with cinematic legends succumbed to lung cancer at the age of 68. His passing in Woodland Hills, California closed the curtain on a career that had begun in the early 1930s and stretched across 4 decades. The news stirred memories of an actor whose tough presence had become a fixture in Hollywood adventure films and westerns. He was born Etienne Pellissier Jacques de Boujac in Carlsbad, New Mexico, in 1904. Adopting the name Bruce Cabot, he pursued acting after working a variety of jobs, from construction to business, experiences that gave him the rugged demeanor that became his trademark. His big break came in 1933, when he starred opposite Fay Wray in King Kong. As Jack Driscoll, the heroic figure battling both beasts and inner fears, he etched his name into film history. The movie's success made him a recognizable face worldwide and tied his career forever to one of cinema's most enduring icons. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, Bruce Cabot worked steadily in both leading and supporting roles. He appeared in westerns, thrillers, and war pictures, always bringing a no-nonsense energy to the screen. His collaboration with John Wayne became a defining aspect of his later career. The two actors shared not only professional respect but also personal friendship, with Cabot joining Wayne's circle of trusted performers known for their loyalty and toughness. Audiences admired his ability to embody men of action. Films such as Dodge City, The Last of the Mohicans, and countless westerns showcased his lean frame, rugged features, and commanding voice. Off-screen, his life was as adventurous as his characters, marked by travels, romances, and a reputation for living boldly. Though he rarely reached the very top tier of stardom, his reliability and presence ensured that he remained in demand for decades. When lung cancer claimed him, it seemed tragically fitting that a man so closely associated with cigarette-smoking tough guys would fall victim to the very image Hollywood once glamorized. Colleagues from the Wayne circle spoke of his loyalty and professionalism, remembering him as a dependable performer and a steadfast friend. His death underscored the cost of an era when smoke hung over film sets, and his place in Hollywood history remains anchored by the enduring roar of King Kong. Number 8. Marjorie Main. In April of 1975, the world lost one of its most distinctive character actresses when she died of lung cancer at the age of 85. Her death in Los Angeles ended a career that had stretched from the early days of talkies through the golden age of studio comedies. Audiences who had grown up laughing at her gravelly voice and sharp comedic timing felt the sting of losing a performer who had given them so many moments of joy. She was born Mary Tomlinson in Indiana in 1907 and grew up with dreams that carried her far beyond small-town life. Trained for the stage, she began her career in vaudeville before transitioning to Broadway, where her tough demeanor and booming voice quickly caught attention. By the 1930s, Hollywood beckoned, and she reinvented herself as Marjorie Main. The screen embraced her unvarnished, earthy style, and she soon found steady work in both dramas and comedies. Her breakout came with the role of Ma Kettle in the hit film The Egg and I, where she played opposite Percy Kilbride. The down-to-earth humor of her performance struck such a chord with audiences that the Ma and Pa Kettle series was born, running for years and cementing her place in American pop culture. Her portrayals of rough, outspoken women contrasted sharply with the polished elegance of many Hollywood actresses, making her unforgettable and deeply relatable to ordinary viewers. She appeared in a wide range of films, from Dead End to Meet Me in St. Louis, often stealing scenes with her wit and commanding screen presence. Directors valued her ability to bring both comedy and grit, and she became a dependable favorite in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer stable of stars. Off-screen, she was known for her privacy and independence, preferring to let her work speak louder than her personal life. When lung cancer overtook her, it felt like the silencing of a voice that had never wavered in strength or spirit. Colleagues remembered her as both professional and fiercely original, someone who carved her own path in a world often defined by glamour. Do you still remember the warmth and humor of Marjorie Main in the Ma and Pa Kettle films? Share your favorite memory in the comments, because every story helps keep her laughter alive. Number 9. William Tallman. In August of 1968, television audiences were stunned by the announcement that the familiar face of Perry Mason had died of lung cancer at the age of 53. His passing came only a few years after he had become a household name for portraying Hamilton Berger, the often frustrated district attorney who sparred weekly with Raymond Burr's unflappable defense attorney. The news was especially poignant because William Tallman had used his own illness to warn others about the dangers of smoking. He was born in Detroit, Michigan in 1915 and developed an early interest in acting. After serving in the United States Army during the Second World War, He moved into theater and eventually film. By the late 1940s and 50s, he found steady work in supporting roles, often cast as tough characters in crime dramas and westerns. His strong jawline and serious expression made him a natural fit for authority figures or men on the wrong side of the law. His most notable early role came in the 1953 film The Hitchhiker, directed by Ida Lupino. In that tense and groundbreaking thriller, he played the sadistic killer who terrorizes two unsuspecting men on a road trip. The film became a classic of film noir and showcased Tallman's ability to command the screen with menace and intensity. Yet it was television that secured his legacy. As Hamilton Berger on Perry Mason, Tallman appeared in nearly every episode from 1957 until his health began to fail. Viewers came to know him as the eternally unlucky prosecutor whose cases always unraveled in the courtroom. Despite the scripted defeats, Tallman brought dignity and intelligence to the role, making Berger a respected opponent rather than a simple foil. Off-screen, he was admired for his professionalism and his good humor, qualities that earned him the respect of his colleagues. When lung cancer struck, William Tallman chose to speak openly about his illness. In one of the first televised anti-smoking campaigns, he appeared frail but determined, urging Americans to quit before it was too late. That act of honesty became as significant as any role he ever played. His death was a sobering reminder of the dangers that claimed so many stars of his generation, and it left behind a legacy of both artistry and courage. Number 10. Gale Gordon. In June of 1995, fans of classic American television were saddened by the news that the man with the booming voice and impeccable comic timing had died of lung cancer at the age of 89. His death in Escondido, California marked the end of a career that had stretched across radio's golden years, Hollywood's sound stages, and television's brightest sitcoms. For generations of viewers, he was the embodiment of the blustery authority figure who always managed to lose his temper with unforgettable flair. He was born Charles T. Aldrich Jr. in New York City in 1906 and raised in California. Early in life, he developed an interest in performing, and by the 1930s, he was already working in radio. His resonant voice and crisp diction made him a natural for the medium, and he soon became one of the most recognized radio actors of his day. He played Mayor Latrivia on Fibber McGee and Molly, and later Principal Osgood Conklin on Our Miss Brooks, roles that cemented his reputation for portraying pompous men undone by exasperation. When television rose to prominence, Gale Gordon adapted seamlessly. In the 1950s and 60s, he brought his characters to life on screen, his expressive face amplifying the comedy that his voice had long suggested. His partnership with Lucille Ball proved to be the defining collaboration of his later career. Beginning with The Lucy Show and continuing through Here's Lucy and Life with Lucy, Gordon played the long-suffering foil to Ball's antics. Their chemistry delighted audiences, with his exasperated outbursts serving as the perfect counterpoint to her mischievous energy. Though best remembered for comedy, Gale Gordon was also a capable dramatic actor, appearing in films and television dramas when called upon. Yet it was his mastery of comic timing and his ability to embody authority figures with both bluster and vulnerability that made him unforgettable. Off-screen, he lived a quieter life, devoted to his wife Virginia, with whom he shared a long and steady marriage. When lung cancer ended his life, tributes poured in from across the entertainment industry. Colleagues remembered him not only for his professionalism, but also for his generosity and kindness. For viewers, his legacy remains in the laughter he inspired, the sharp delivery of his lines, and the indelible characters that still echo in the reruns of classic television. Number 11. Rupert Cross. In March of 1973, Hollywood lost a rising star when Rupert Cross died of lung cancer at the age of 45. His passing cut short a career that had only just begun to receive the recognition it deserved. He had become the first African-American actor to be nominated for an Academy Award in the category of Best Supporting Actor, a milestone that reflected both his talent and his determination to break barriers in an industry that was still slow to embrace diversity. He was born in New York City in 1927 and grew up with an interest in performance that carried him to Hofstra University, where he studied acting. After serving in the United States Army, he pursued theater work and gradually moved into film. His early years were spent on stage, where his natural presence and commanding voice won him respect. He was not an overnight success, but his steady dedication eventually brought him opportunities that highlighted his ability to bring depth to complex characters. The turning point came with his role in The Reivers in 1969, where he starred alongside Steve McQueen. His portrayal of the loyal and spirited Ned earned him an Academy Award nomination, placing him in the history books. Critics praised his warmth, his humor, and his ability to bring humanity to a role that could have been reduced to stereotype. The nomination signaled a career ready to expand into larger roles, and he was soon considered one of the most promising actors of his generation. He also appeared in a number of television productions, bringing the same sincerity and charisma that marked his film work. Colleagues admired his professionalism and his resilience in an industry where opportunities for actors of color were often scarce. He navigated those challenges with grace, always striving to elevate the material he was given. When lung cancer struck, it was a devastating blow. At just 45, Rupert Cross had so much more to give, and his death left colleagues and audiences wondering what heights he might have reached had he lived longer. Tributes described him as a trailblazer and a gentleman, a man whose career may have been brief, but whose impact continues to resonate in Hollywood's long struggle toward inclusion and representation. Number 12. James Craig. In June of 1985, the film world received word that James Craig had died of lung cancer at the age of 73. His passing in California closed the life of an actor who had once been groomed by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer to fill the shoes of Clark Gable during the war years. Though his career took a winding path, he left behind a collection of performances that captured the rugged charm of mid-century Hollywood. He was born James Norris in Nashville, Tennessee in 1909 and began his career not in film but in medicine, initially studying dentistry before turning toward acting. Hollywood discovered him in the late 1930s, and by the early 1940s, his dark, good looks and commanding voice made him a natural candidate for leading man roles. When Clark Gable entered military service during the Second World War, MGM placed James Craig at the forefront, marketing him as a potential successor to the studio's most bankable star. His breakout performance came with Kitty Foyle and later Our Vines Have Tender Grapes, where he acted opposite Margaret O'Brien. He displayed a warm sincerity that made him appealing to audiences, though critics often debated whether he truly carried the gravitas of a top-tier star. Nevertheless, he appeared alongside major actresses like Lana Turner and Hedy Lamarr, building a reputation as a dependable screen partner. By the 1950s, his career shifted toward westerns and adventure films. He found steady work in pictures such as Drums in the Deep South and Fort Vengeance, where his rugged demeanor suited the action-driven narratives. His later years brought him to television, where he made guest appearances on a variety of popular shows, ensuring that his face remained familiar to viewers even as his leading man days waned. Despite fluctuations in fame, James Craig maintained a steady presence in Hollywood for more than 3 decades. Off-screen, he lived a quieter life, focusing on family and personal pursuits. When lung cancer claimed him, it was a somber reminder of how many actors of his generation had been undone by the smoking culture so deeply woven into the industry. His death closed the chapter on a career that may never have reached the heights once imagined for him. But his contributions remain part of the rich fabric of classic American cinema. Number 13. Nick Cravat. In January of 1994, news emerged that the actor and acrobat who had been a lifelong companion and collaborator of Burt Lancaster had died of lung cancer at the age of 82. His death in Los Angeles brought to an end the story of a performer whose agility, loyalty, and silent charisma had left a distinct mark on both film and circus history. He was born Nicholas Kucha in New York in 1911, the son of Sicilian immigrants. Growing up in the tough neighborhoods of Brooklyn, he discovered an early passion for athletics and performance. It was here that he met Burt Lancaster, a friendship that would shape the trajectory of his life. Together, they trained as acrobats and later joined the circus, performing daring aerial stunts that honed their strength, timing, and trust. The bond forged in those early days carried over when both men turned to acting. Hollywood embraced the duo for their physicality and screen presence. Nick Cravat often appeared alongside Lancaster in swashbuckling adventures and action films, where his acrobatic skill added a sense of authenticity and danger. Because of his thick Brooklyn accent, he frequently took silent roles, relying on expression and movement rather than dialogue. This limitation became a strength, giving his characters a mischievous, almost pantomime quality that endeared him to audiences. One of his most memorable appearances came in The Crimson Pirate in 1952, where he played Ojo, a mute companion to Lancaster's flamboyant buccaneer. His stunts were breathtaking, from swinging on ropes to engaging in choreographed sword fights. Critics praised his physical artistry, and fans remembered the loyalty between his character and Lancaster's as the heart of the film. He repeated this partnership in numerous productions, always bringing the same energy and commitment. Beyond film, Nick Cravat remained active in performance circles, respected for his acrobatic expertise and his dedication to the craft of movement. He never sought the limelight in the same way as Lancaster, but his career was built on a foundation of friendship, skill, and determination. When lung cancer claimed him, tributes highlighted not only his unique screen presence, but also the enduring partnership that had defined much of his professional life. His legacy remains tied to the golden age of Hollywood adventure films, where action and camaraderie carried as much weight as words. These 13 stars may have vanished behind the smoke that once defined their era, but their voices, faces, and unforgettable roles continue to echo on screen. Lung cancer claimed their final curtain call, yet their art lives on. Which performance do you still remember most? Share your thoughts below, and do not forget to subscribe so you never miss the next story.